Good day, STEM students, and welcome to our Disaster Readiness and Risk Reduction. For today's video lesson, we will focus on hydrometeorological hazards. Now, as part of our subject, this topic is an important one as we go to understanding these hazards can help us better prepare for and mitigate their impacts. Now, before we begin, here are a few instructions or reminders to enhance your learning experience during this video lesson. So first, I highly encourage everybody to have a notebook or a digital note-taking tool. Be ready. Jot down key points, interesting facts, and any questions that may arise during the video. Now, you may pause and replay. Remember, the advantage of the video lesson is that you can pause, replay, or watch sections if you need to. Don't hesitate to use this feature if you need to review any part of the lesson. Now, to ensure you can see the slides in full screen, I will be turning off my camera during the presentation as this will allow you to focus entirely on the educational content of the video lesson. So let's begin by first having our learning targets. Now, according to our most essential learning competencies, at the end of this session, we must recognize signs of an impending hydrometeorological hazards. So let's start this by having activity number one. So in this activity, I want you to get a piece of paper with you so that you may write your answer in this activity later on when I show you the different scenarios. Why? Because in this activity, I will be showing you conditions or scenario situations that I want you to analyze. And suppose that you plan to go out for a picnic. Now, all you need to do is to write yes or no. So on a sheet of paper, write yes if the scenario shows that it will rain because you want to go to a picnic, and no if it will not. And later on at the end of this activity, we will be answering guide questions. Okay, so again, simply write yes or no. Okay, so let's start. So here I'll be giving you 60 seconds to answer the following or determine if the following scenario shows a possibility of rainfall. Okay, so let's begin. Your 60 seconds starts now. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, very good. Now let's check your answer if you got it right. So first, the first scenario, a high-lying veil of clouds is seen on the horizon. Now there is any possibility of a rainfall, yes or no? Okay, very good. Yes. Second, the sun is shining brightly. Yes or no? No, very good. Next, it is suddenly becomes windy. Possibility of rainfall, yes or no? Yes. Okay, the next one, the temperature of the surrounding feels slightly cool. Yes or no? Okay, no. Next, it looks dark outside. Yes or no? Yes. The sky has high-lying clouds. Is it a yes or a no? Okay, no. Next, the surroundings feel humid. Yes or no? Yes. And lastly, it is bright outside, but I can see dark clouds at a distance. Is there any possibility of a rainfall? Yes or no? Okay. I hope everybody got the correct answer, 8 out of 8. Now, if no, later on we will see kung bakit nga ba nagkaroon ng mga confusion and why is that there is a scenarios that do not possess any signs of a possibility of having a rainfall. Okay, so here are the guide questions. So first, how can you tell if it will rain or not? Because in the questions or the scenarios given, the question is, with those scenarios, is there any possibility of a rainfall? Now, we can simply check the weather forecast in our location, which can give us an idea if it will rain or not. Now, the forecast is based on the meteorological data, such as atmospheric pressure, temperature, humidity, and wind direction, and also the speed, the wind speed. Now, the second question is that why do we need to be aware of the changes in our surroundings concerning the weather? The answer is being aware of the changes in our surroundings concerning the weather. It is very important for several reasons. First, it can help us plan our daily activities and schedule. Uh, like for example, if you know it's going to rain, you might decide to bring an umbrella or waterproof clothing before we go outside. Second, it can help us stay safe because severe weather conditions like storm, heavy rain, or extreme heat can be dangerous. Now, by staying updated with the weather forecast, we can take necessary precautions to protect ourselves. And lastly, it can also help us to take care of our health. Weather conditions can affect people's health in various ways, such as triggering allergies or worsening certain medical conditions. That's why this video lesson also focuses on raising awareness to the community on what to do and what are the precautionary measures that we can implement to at least lessen the risk of experiencing the hydrometeorological hazards. And now let's focus on hydrometeorological hazard. Now, a short recap in the previous video lessons, in the previous discussions, we able to elaborate the type of hazard that is mainly related to the processes, natural processes of our planet, which is geological hazards. Now, in this video lesson, we will focus on meteorological hazards. Now, this hazard mainly focus on two factors. So first, hydro. When we say hydro, we simply pertains to water. And the next one is meteorological. Now, when we say meteorological, the term pertains to the study of the atmosphere, our weather, and weather conditions. Now, it derived from meteorology, which is the scientific study of the atmosphere and atmospheric phenomena, including weather and climate. Now, meteorologists are scientists who study and predict weather patterns by analyzing climate trends and provide forecasts. Now, they use sophisticated technology and tools to monitor atmospheric conditions, measure temperature, the air pressure, humidity, and wind speed. Now, they interpret data to predict weather patterns and climatic trends. Now, when we say hydrometeorological hazards, these are the natural processes or phenomena that are atmospheric, hydrologic, and oceanographic. Now, the hazard may cause loss of lives, damage to property, social and economic disruption, or environmental degradation. Now, based on the geographic location of the Philippines, we experience high frequency of occurrence of these hazards. Now, when we say hydrometeorological hazards, the examples are the tropical cyclones, or also known as typhoons and hurricanes. This also includes floods, flash floods, drought, heat waves, and cold spells, and coastal storm surges. Here in the Philippines, we are exposed to different hydrometeorological hazards. So when we say hydrometeorological hazard, this includes typhoon. So we have, based on our record, we have been experiencing an average of 20 typhoons yearly. Now, aside from typhoon, we also experience a thunderstorm, flash flood, flooding, coastal storm surges, and El Nino and La Nina. So let's first discuss about the typhoon. Now, when we say typhoon, it is a violent tropical cyclone that forms over warm waters north of the equator in the western Pacific Ocean. On the other side, around the Atlantic, they termed this tropical cyclone as hurricane. Now, this contains winds rotating counterclockwise with a speed of 118 to 220 kilometers per hour. Now, if the wind speed reaches 220 kilometers and above per hour, it is now categorized as super typhoon. Now, how strong is strong? So I have here the classification of tropical cyclone according to their wind speed. Okay, so first let's talk about the tropical depression. So that we term the tropical cyclone tropical depression when it carries a wind speed of 61 kilometers per hour or less. Now, gaano ba kabilis or kalakas ito? So, imagine we are located or waiting for a ride along EDSA and then merong dumaan sa atin na hindi traffic ha, pero may dumaan sa atin na bus. So, yung speed ng bus, we can compare it to the wind speed of a tropical depression. So, paano naman kapag naging tropical storm na? So, tropical storm, it has a wind speed of 62 to 88 kilometers per hour. So, this speed is comparable to a fast-moving LRT2 train. Okay, so next we have the severe tropical storm. So here, the wind speed is around 89 to 117 kilometers per hour. So this is as fast as a car cruising along NLEX kasi nga hindi naman ma-traffic doon. So, imagine a moving car that freely riding or traveling along NLEX. Now, typhoon. So here, ito na yung napapangalanan natin ng iba't ibang pangalan to simply categorize and record their impeccable damaging effect to the country. So when we say typhoon, the speed of the wind is around 118 to 220 kilometers per hour. So this is as fast as a common motorcycle in a race. Okay, so may karera na. Now, we term the tropical cyclone, so super typhoon, when it carries more than 220 kilometers per hour. So here, this is as fast as a bullet train in Japan. So I have here a video, a clip showing how strong a tropical cyclone is. Okay, so the video clip simply shows the wind speed carries by a super typhoon Haiyan experienced in Tacloban Leyte years ago. So as you may see, this wind speed can carry a damaging effect to a community. So, what are the impending signs of a typhoon? Now, as mentioned earlier, hydrometeorological hazards can bring damaging effects to the community. So, our goal is to at least raise awareness about the possible signs or impending signs of a hydrometeorological hazard to at least lessen the damaging effects that can be experienced by the community when they are hit by these hydrometeorological hazards. So first, let's talk about the signs of a typhoon. So first sign is an increased ocean swell. Now, when we say swell, this refers to a series of long, rolling waves on the ocean. Now, these are not local waves that you see breaking on the beach, but rather waves that are traveled a long distance from where they were originally generated by wind. Now, when a typhoon or storm is approaching, it brings with it strong winds over the ocean surface. These winds transfer their energy to the water, causing the waves to increase in height and frequency. Now, this is known as increased ocean swell. Now, the next sign or the second sign of an impending typhoon is the changes in clouds. Now, the formation of clouds is a result of the water cycle. As a typhoon approaches, the atmospheric conditions change, leading an increase in the amount of water vapor in the air. Now, this water vapor rises and cools, forming clouds. Initially, these clouds may be low-lying, but as more and more water is added, they become thicker and darker. This is usually accompanied by rain, signaling the approaching typhoon. Now, the next sign is the barometric pressure drop. Now, when we say barometric pressure, this is known as atmospheric pressure. This simply refers to the weight of the air above a certain point. As a typhoon approaches, the barometric pressure starts to drop. This is because the strong winds of a typhoon cause the air to rise, leading to a decrease in pressure near the surface. Now, this drop in pressure can begin to occur around 36 hours before the typhoon makes landfall. Now, the last sign of an impending typhoon is the abrupt changes in wind speed. Now, wind is essentially air in motion, and it moves from areas of high pressure to areas of lower pressure. Now, as the barometric pressure drops due to the approaching typhoon, the wind speed increases. This is because the difference in pressure between the high pressure area and the low pressure area caused by the typhoon becomes greater, causing the wind to move faster as it rises to equalize the pressure. So I have here images showing these signs of an impending typhoon. So first, here, the ocean swelling. So the next one, we have the changes in the clouds, the wind speed, and of course the barometric condition. So with this, when we see or notice these signs on our location, we can simply assume that there is a possibility of a typhoon to occur. So let's have now the thunderstorm. Now, one of the hydrometeorological hazards that we often experience is the thunderstorm. So, in having thunderstorm, hindi kinakailangan na magkaroon tayo ng bagyo under monitoring because thunderstorm can simply experienced by a locality. A thunderstorm is a small scale storm accompanied by a lightning and thunder. So thunder, more of the sound, the roaring sound. Now, a typical thunderstorm only lasts about 30 minutes to an hour and may cover an area as small as 5 kilometers in diameter. Now, in extreme cases, they may be accompanied by hail or tornado. Okay, in that video clip, we able to see notable events during thunderstorm. Okay, so thunderstorm structure as shown in the picture. So here there is a collision of warm updraft and cool downdraft air. Now, what are the signs of a thunderstorm? So we also have four impending signs of a thunderstorm. So first, the system of cumulonimbus clouds. So cumulonimbus clouds are a type of cloud that is tall, dense, and involved in thunderstorms and other intense weather. Now, the Earth's surface heats up and cools down unevenly, causing packets of air to rise. If this air is moist, it can form cumulonimbus clouds. As these clouds continue to accumulate, they can signal an incoming thunderstorm. Now, the next sign is the sky, when the sky turns dark. Now, as a thunderstorm approaches, the sky often turns dark. This is due to the dense cumulonimbus clouds blocking out the sunlight. The color of the sky can also change to a grayish tint or even use of green, yellow, or violet due to the way the sunlight is scattered by the water droplets in the clouds. Now, dark bases of clouds can indicate they are becoming thunderstorm clouds. Now, the next sign is the lightning and thunder. Now, lightning is a large discharge of electricity that is caused by an imbalance between positive and negative charges within a thunderstorm. This lightning can hit the air to temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun, causing a rapid expansion of air, which results in a sound wave we hear as thunder. Now, if you see lightning but can't hear thunder, it usually means the storm is too far away from the sound to reach you. Okay. Last sign of a thunderstorm is gusts of wind and change in wind direction. As a thunderstorm forms, it can cause sudden gusts and wind and changes, or gusts of wind and changes in wind direction. Now, this is due to the downdrafts and updrafts within the storm. A downburst, which is a strong downdraft, can descend very quickly and can be as strong as tornado. Now, this can cause sudden, dangerous wind conditions on the ground. So here are the photo of the signs of an impending thunderstorm. So first, the cumulonimbus, the accumulation of dense clouds. So you have here in the next picture the color grayish clouds that might indicate that there is an approaching thunderstorm. Now, a thunderstorm can be accompanied by lightning and thunder. And also here, next, let's have the flood and the flash flood. Now, the flood occurs when land areas which are normally not covered with water are being submerged, often after a heavy and continuous rainfall. Now, when we say flash flood, it is a kind of flood characterized by a raging current that occurs when the water level rises due to heavy rainfall. Now, the difference of flash flood and flood, unlike flash flood lasts from a few minutes to a few hours only. Okay? Now, it is common along rivers, mountain canyons, coastline, creeks, and uneven or even urban areas.
We want to begin this half an hour with a check of the headlines. And this morning, rescue workers in the Philippines are searching for victims of deadly flooding there. At least 47 people were killed after torrential rains from a tropical storm set off flash floods in the southern Philippines Friday. More than 60 villagers from a coastal community are feared missing, possibly buried in a huge mudslide. We want to begin.
Now let's talk about the impending signs of a flash flood. So based on also presented on the previous slide, so the first sign that we can use of an upcoming flash flood is the weather forecasts of a typhoon or a thunderstorm. Now, weather forecasts predicting a typhoon or thunderstorm can indicate a risk of flooding. Now, these types of weather systems often bring intense and prolonged rainfall, which can overwhelm drainage systems and cause rivers and streams to overflow their banks. The next sign is when water collecting in puddles and rapidly rising water. Now, if you notice water starting to accumulate in puddles or water levels rising rapidly, this could be a sign that the ground is saturated and cannot absorb any more water. Now, this often a precursor to flooding. In some cases, water may be building up in a distant area and a flash flood could occur without much warning. The next sign is the muddy water. Now, if normally clear water suddenly becomes muddy, this could mean that the water has become disturbed and soil or silt has been mixed in. This can happen when water level rise and the water starts to erode and the riverbanks or erode the riverbanks or when heavy rain washes soil into rivers and streams. Okay? The next sign is the sound, roaring sound from upstream. Now, a roaring sound coming from upstream can be a sign of a large amount of water rushing down a river or stream. Now, this can be caused by debris like stones, branches, or logs being carried along by the water. Now, it can be a warning sign of an impending flash flood. Lastly, floating debris in water. Now, if you see twigs, leaves, and sticks floating in the water, this could be from larger branches and logs that have been swept into the water. This can be a sign that water levels are rising upstream and a flood may be imminent. So these are the pictures of the signs of an impending flood or flash flood. Okay. Lastly, we have storm surge. Now, When we say storm surge, it is a rapid rise of seawater above normal sea level on the coast, generated by strong winds brought about by typhoons and thunderstorms. Now, in the previous discussions, we able to compare and differentiate storm surge and tsunami. Now, commonly, tsunami came from the disturbance undersea or underwater. Now, storm surge happens when there is a disturbance on the water level above the sea level.
Talk about.
Okay, so that video clip simply shows how destructive a storm surge can be when it is being experienced by a community, coastal areas in particular. Okay, now I have here a chart showing the different hydrometeorological hazards. So as you may notice, this includes tsunami. So again, let's talk about how tsunami can be categorized as hydrometeorological hazards. Now again, when we say a tsunami is primarily considered a geological hazard. It is usually caused by the displacement of substantial volume of water or perturbation of the sea. Now, this displacement of water is typically attributed to geological events such as earthquakes, landslides, volcanic eruptions, and more rarely by meteorites and nuclear tests. However, it is worth noting that certain meteorological conditions, such as deep depressions like tropical cyclones, can generate a type of storm surge called a meteotsunami. Now, meteotsunami, which raises water heights above normal levels, often suddenly at the shoreline. So, meaning when we say tsunami, as part of our example of hydrometeorological hazard, it is commonly known as storm surge. Now, but these are not typical tsunamis that are generally associated with large scale water displacement due to geological activities. Now, para lang din hindi magkaroon ng lituhan, this tsunami is termed storm surge when it is being produced out of a tropical cyclone. Now, how can we identify the areas that are prone to or affected by these hydrometeorological hazards? So the answer is very simple, by having hazard maps. Okay, so same with the different kinds of hazards, hydrometeorological hazard can also be explained, interpreted by the use of hazard map. So this map is a guide that highlights areas that are vulnerable to potential hazards like storm surge, typhoon, and flood. Now, the main goal of hazard map is to prevent serious damage and deaths. The hazard map can also raise awareness, information, education to a community about where they can relocate before they can be affected by the disaster. By simply knowing the possible threats in their area, they can plan accordingly and act to prevent any damage or devastating effect of a disaster. So this is an example of a hazard map, hydrometeorological hazard. So here we have the Alaminos watershed flood prone area. So this hazard map of the Alaminos watershed simply shows the areas of high susceptibility to flooding. They also have a high susceptibility to landslide because these hydrometeorological hazards can also lead to another hazard, which is geological hazard. There you have it. That's the end of our video lesson about hydrometeorological hazard. I hope you learned something new and don't hesitate to share this information, this knowledge to your community to raise awareness. And don't forget to accomplish the Google Forms, the quizzes related to our topic. Keep safe, everyone. Good day. God bless.